So let's start with what's new for this meeting. We're going to start there.
We've got to look
We have
at
some-
the expenditures and revenues and look to see, again, if we could do kind of, and you were going to present.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
so Billy Lauren and I met on Friday, Thursday, last week. And we went through a couple of things. So this one, hopefully this mouse holds up. It's a charge, so. Hopefully everybody can see that.
This is around 5.
So this is a new document.
Okay.
This is a new document. So this is based upon, this is just the simple income and expense budget that we had talked about. So I put this together and then met with Billy and Lauren to kind of put together a budget for our revolving account. So Fund 0003 is our operating. So those are the funds that are in our operating budget. And we made a couple tweaks, and I'll go through that in a second. These are our three sources of revenue: fees, gate receipts, and general revenue. Most of this general revenue is essentially just the wrestling tournament that comes in every year. So we don't really put that in gate receipts. It goes in general revenue. And then 402 is all of our expenditures out of our revolving account that are derived from these three income figures. So the first thing, so these budget numbers were set in the operating budget. Now, if you remember, we put $100,000 in the operating budget for athletic transportation, and I based that number on our fiscal 24 actuals, which was $204,000. So that number was $204,000 in the budget, but looking at FY25 expenditures and where we think we may come out this year, we figure we're going to be around the $170,000 range. So we tweaked this and brought software athletics. We always had a software line. We didn't have money allocated to it, but we took our 3 software packages and put them in that line. And then our dues and memberships. These two were together down here previously.
Okay.
So we moved that up to operating to kind of offset, to help a little bit down here, which I'll explain in a second. So all told, this was the number that was allocated operating budget-wise for our athletics. So almost $828,000. All this is pretty much set in stone. There's really no movement. Salaries. Transportation, that's what we had previously. Now we've added softwares and dues and memberships, but those numbers are pretty much set. As you can see here, I encumbered all our salaries. So
And John, this is the format that we're now reviewing and using.
this is fiscal 26.
So this is
This current year that we're in right now. So we have budget line. So we have budgets. We have our year-to-date actuals. So this is what we spent so far. Salaries, when we spend all our salaries. So that's why it's 0 for available budget and coming down here. So essentially, the $828,000 that's in our operating budget is spent. So that's where we are. Now, we have 402, which is the revolving account. Income that comes in. This is estimated receipts for fiscal 26. $171,000 in fees, $35,000 in gate receipts. About 20 of that is from football, roughly. And then there's basketball involved there too. And then general revenue, which I said was essentially just the wrestling tournament. And then very few incidentals. We get a couple checks here and there for marketing purposes and maybe a donation here or two. But so essentially $218,000 comes in the revolving account. Now that's the issue. We've known that's the issue all along. Here is all the other expenditures that we have that we are paying from the revenue stream. What we did on late last week was we looked at our actuals from last school year, and this doesn't really change. This is just basics. We know, we've talked about previously how uniforms can change from year to year, and there's a schedule for that.
Depending on the cycle of the and equipment may change up and down here or there. You can see we're already
kind of pushing the limit on that already through this school year. But these are the numbers from last year. Look at the total, 312,000. Look how much revenue is coming in. There's our $95,000 structural deficit.
Just to be clear, year-to-date is fall season, or is that?
Yes, this is what is in munis to this point.
Uh-huh.
So this is what we spent year to date already.
That's what we spent to date,
Right, so go back up.
so it's basically in the fall.
So salaries are already this year, so that includes fall and winter?
This includes fall. We may be,
So where's the 92,000 come from? Is that just from fall, or is that from?
where's the next?
Salaries?
First line.
Yeah, right there. It's actually more than that. This was probably through the last set, the football hadn't hit when I ran this, I believe, 92, actually I can look. We have a whole, we have more expenditures coming, detailed.
Because it would be like what, 100?
Here, this is
$11,000.
it.
This is-
all the coaches for the
Okay.
football.
This is the full spreadsheet we're gonna
Actually,
actually look at.
you get-
We're gonna look at this too.
Yeah, we'll bring it up in a second.
So fall coaches are 117, so this isn't completely up to date yet. This is more of the expenditures, that detail that you were looking at. So that did not include, this sheet with the year-to-date actuals does not include the 122. We're
Okay,
good.
so half of the yearly budget is in fall for coaches' salaries.
Roughly, yeah, I have a full, it's,
Fall's the big one.
Yeah.
Because of football.
Yeah.
great.
It actually goes fall, winter, spring.
Okay.
As far as, yeah, because
We're gonna
I
get
kind of
those.
just did it out. So based on last year,
Heather?
so winter, excuse me, will be 100,000 for coaches' salaries, 8,000 more. And then based on last year, if all the coaches returned.
It's just
Okay.
shoved underneath it.
Okay.
So it's the winter, it's fall, it's in spring.
Okay.
This is nice.
We have more coaches in the fall, one of the rest of the football, one of the rest of the
Just
two.
checking on that.
Well, we can't have nice things.
I think that's for the yeah,
Right.
but in the winter,
There we go.
there's more coaches. Mr. Fisher, Coach Conley, and then
Okay.
more than
So now I'm over here.
like me.
What happened?
Yeah.
While he's here,
Can't see
can I
it.
ask you questions about the coaches?
Oh, yeah.
Just so I can learn more?
Yeah.
How,
Tom, I have a wireless mouse in
do
my
you need a mouse?
What's
I
that?
have a wireless
Yeah, I'm over here
mouse.
now. No, I got it. It's working. I just got to sit over here
I have a wireless.
until this turns.
Okay, are you still moving?
Do you want to wait for coaches' salaries on the agenda?
Because there's a whole thing on coaches' salaries we're going to talk about too.
Okay.
It was about salaries.
So again,
Up to you.
This-
Just saying, it's on.
yeah, so this is the document that we're going to update. We can present it at the committee level, or if we're going to get together, it definitely will be circulating this group. But that's the extent of our issue right here. This 94,441. And, that's what we're going to talk about, I think, in the second agenda item, is how do we solve that deficit? Because this is basics.
Mhm.
It's basics. It's what it costs. It's what it costs to run our athletic program. We put an additional $100,000 up here in our operating budget, and our operating budget, we'll be lucky to even sustain that moving forward too as well. So there's a lot more coming on that in the next few weeks. So that's what we need to resolve. The second item was expenses. So these are our fall expenses, and over here are all our expenditures, and Lauren's done a great job just coding each one to each sport. There's the other category, which is not specific to a sport, so like our Patriot League dues, our MIA dues, all the way through. So these are all expenditures up to date. And here are our fall totals per sport. You can see football 71, all the way through. The other category 54. Now the other category isn't specific to fall, obviously. This is really for the whole year, because our Patriot League dues are for the whole year. So, and then this is by category. Yes.
So I kind of organized it, like, this is what we paid in the fall, so now we're in winter season, so now like anything added will be entered, like, paid in the winter. So like, there's even some things for a winter sport that were paid in the fall, prepping for the winter. That's just kind of like when we submitted that order, so then you'll see it live.
Like the home jerseys and stuff.
Exactly, but I did allocate those in the winter total.
Yep.
Yeah, these are in the winter.
They coded.
Yeah.
We took transportation and allocated it by sport, and our coaches are included in those fall totals now too as well. So this is direct attributable expense to each sport in the fall, and we're pretty much done with the expenses there, correct? I would
For the
think.
fall.
Yes.
So those totals include coaching and they include transportation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's everything.
That's everything.
That's everything. That's everything.
But are we still including in there like the share of the dues memberships or the share of the?
No,
Okay,
that's not there. So we
it's
have
not-
other that we could break that out in the future as we come along. There's, like Patriot League dues, we could just divide by, how many sports do we have?
28.
28,
28. So that would technically be divided by 28.
$10,000.
But, so we didn't break up those.
Right,
those large
I think
ones.
that's appropriate,
Yeah.
right, to keep that in like the operational.
Yeah. And actually, that's a part of the reason why we put the software and the dues and memberships in the operating account now, because it's a set cost that we know.
Yeah.
So this is what we'll keep moving forward. It'll give us what we've been looking for as far as direct expense costs to each sport, and we'll run it through the whole year. And
So it's a much better system.
Yeah, it's helpful to see the.
Track things.
Yeah.
the downside to revenue, and we're going to talk about fees in a minute, is our fees cannot, at this point, our fees received for the fall cannot be broken out by sport, because if, a boys soccer player pays $300 for boys soccer and then goes and plays basketball and baseball, it's really only $100 a sport rather than $300. So we can't break that up, revenues per sport, until the year is complete, which is kind of a downside to our current structure. So, but we'll clearly track all of our payments that come in.
Can I ask a question about that actually?
Yeah.
Why can't you register for all seasons in the fall?
What's that?
Why not register, why can we register for all sports at once?
It's not how it's set up in schools that do.
Some schools
Did we
do
do
it.
But that would also give us a good idea of what our numbers are for the other seasons.
What would be an unintended consequence of that? I'm just trying to think. I think it sounds like.
Oh, with the 300, I mean,
I think with certain sports like track, some kids might not plan to do track, winter track or spring track.
Oh, you could still add,
Right.
right, but say, like, I know what my kids are planning for this year.
Right.
Right, so like,
Right.
even if you put a box that said, I was wondering about this with one of my questions about how to staff coaches,
Yeah.
right? So like, that would get, if there was an area on that registration form to say, what other sports are you interested in? Maybe it's not a full registration, because it doesn't, at this point, it'll come into play later if we adjust but maybe if it's just an interest.
The only thing I can think of, just thinking out loud, is if we have an idea based on that people are going to do a particular sport, we probably want to purchase for that number, and that number may not be true. Probably not, it's probably pretty accurate though. I'm just thinking of I think it's
Well,
a good.
right now what happens, you have to wait until the week of registration to find out how many kids are going to, and then purchase?
Well, but again, that's at least, we're talking about cost savings.
For weights, you wouldn't have weights.
Right, I'm just thinking, just a possible unintended
Yeah.
consequences, somebody signs up. I don't think it's a big deal, but somebody
Right.
signs up for basketball in the fall and then decides they're not gonna play basketball.
Right.
We bought a uniform for
Right.
that person.
And we wouldn't actually I've been thinking about how to predict what team sizes are,
Right.
right? Especially for coaching, right? So that you would know if we're dropping a team as our population dwindles.
Well, that would
right?
be a good thing. because
Right,
you-
that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't, and it wouldn't be perfect because we wouldn't capture the kids that aren't playing a fall sport, right, or a multiple sport. But I wonder if there was some way to give us some of that information.
It could be a little tricky in the cut sports that we have, someone signs up for boys basketball, doesn't make it, it's the reimbursement process, which we do now anyways. That's the only thing.
I'm thinking of just are you planning or are you interested in, just
I think it's
to,
smart, it's good information.
We can definitely put that, if someone's interested in August, might change in.
sure, we're not holding them to it.
No.
And at this
Yeah.
point, we're not collecting money for it.
Yep. No.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be a refund. But
I just wonder how accurate, some families are gonna really pay attention to it and fill it out, and then some won't.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how accurate it would be.
But at least it gives
Well,
a
we
projection,
could-
and we're
I mean,
trying to estimate money.
There's no hurt in
Right.
trying. I
Right.
guess it's-
No.
Yeah. And as far as uniforms go, those are typically already purchased. It's really only if there's a sport that has huge incoming class, and we're like, oh,
Right.
we're in a predicament now, we have to order more uniforms. Other than that,
Might give you a sense for,
Also,
if you got a baby or a freshman team,
Right.
or Lauren said, coaching your staff, just to give you a sense.
Yeah, that's what most of our coaches will do, like preseason meetings, just to
Yeah.
kind of give us an idea of what
Right.
they expect from the But having a box on the registration, are you interested in playing, if you just go, oh, what's going on, what's it? No, I don't think.
I know,
That's it.
Unipay, how it was initially was, some families put in all three sports that they're gonna be paying for, but then we broke it down by season when we thought we were increasing it. But a lot of times, if I look at the Unipay report, it might have three sports listed, or it used to when we had it open-ended.
okay.
And so I could kind of see what the kids might have been wanting to do. We took it off this year just as we opened it as just fall because we're changing.
Like, show for each.
So we just kind of froze it
Okay.
to fall, winter, spring, so it's not on there right now.
Okay.
But it definitely used to be, so I could kind of see what they were thinking
Right.
of doing and what they were technically paying for.
Right.
So if we kind of mirror that, like we did on Unipay, we do that on registration somewhere. I'd have to look at the registration and see where I could add it. Just be like, what sports are you going to play this year?
We've been fortunate with our dwindling student population. Athletics really hasn't
Yeah.
dwindled that much,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot of offerings, some varsity offerings as well too.
I think there's still 5 less this year than last year, better numbers.
Yeah.
Want to go, Tom?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at this, just like football, for example, 71,000. There was about 20,000 taken in gate receipts for football, so that helps offset that a little bit. But then, again, we can't really project. We don't know exactly what our revenues from our athletic fees are, but we do have a spreadsheet from, it's going back to right here. So here's a sheet. Just ignore the names. The names are just there from 2 years ago. They're gonna be over here. Nice catch.
That was a juggling act.
Yeah, that's great. See how long this lasts. But so this spreadsheet is really how we can plan any. Nope. Can't see anything down here. I'm going to drag it over.
What are you looking to do?
I'm looking to drag it over to the left.
Oh, make it smaller.
And it's
12 minutes? Then you can drag it over, then you're good.
Where am I dragging? Oh, it's down there.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see it.
You know, that way you break it, not big.
I think it's fine, Steve.
What's that?
It's fine, Steve. Tom, put your
I
glasses
can't
on.
see. or
The rest of
hear
us can see it, Tom. Put your
Like
glasses
that,
on.
you know, it's like an
No,
exercise.
No,
Joe.
you can't see it.
See that?
The bottom line's on
I can't hear you,
It's
it
on.
doesn't matter.
The draggable line is on there, but it's not here.
Okay, we'll make it bigger so we can see it. We're over it, and we're on the right side now.
And then I'll jump over there and I'll just show you this. I'll just, all right, so I'm gonna go over here and drag it. I guess I'll work over here for now. So, when you drag this all the way over, this right here is our total fees.
3,050?
Yeah.
Total athletic fees. This is 24, 25. No, this is 23, 24. So it's actually
At the
2
top it
years
says
ago.
24, 25.
What's that?
At the top it
It is,
says 24, 25.
it is 24.
Yeah, 24, 25. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. So this is last year.
Last year.
And it has all our athletes. It has, and you can see this. What this does is you can see who played one sport, who played two sports, who played 3 sports per sport, and it's all derived from these 3 numbers here. So each student is tied to one of these categories here. If you play, if 3 sport athletes, $100 per sport. That's what we charge, $100 per sport for 3 sports. 2 sports, actually that should be 150. Sorry, that was a miss there. And that's going to change these numbers here. That's more like it. All right. So 300, 150, 100, based upon how many sports. For boys, it was 90,850. Put 90,850 here. We've been playing with this, so that's why we're still. And then for girls, same thing. Drag it over. Oh, let's change this to 150. Bear with me. There we go. 80,600. And that over here, I think we have a grand, oh no, we don't. Where's the grand total? No. Okay. That's our total. So 90,000, 80,000, about 171,000, which is what we have operating budget wise. Actually, our budget projection for athletic fees received. So the reason why we have all this broken down, so this is, last year, obviously every year it changes a little bit, but we're basing it upon this. We can easily just change these figures based upon fee structures, and it will automatically calculate and give us what the differential is. So, and also including in this is waivers. We have waivers. Some of these students receive waivers and aren't actually paying this amount, but it comes off the bottom. Obviously, I'm not gonna divulge the confidentiality on the waivers. So, this is real simple to do, and I mean, there was some number. What was some hypotheticals? This is just hypothetically.
400.
400 for first sport,
200 for second sport.
200 for second sport, so that means they're paid, that's 300, and then third sport was free?
Correct.
So 600, that'd be 200. So in this scenario right now, so it would be 400 first sport, 200 second sport, which means you're paying $600 for 2 sports, which is 300 per sport, and then third sport free, that means you're paying $600 for 3 sports. You can see all these people changed. 400, 300, 200 across the board. That's what's allocated to them. So just for the boys in that scenario,
Wouldn't the 200 turn to 0?
what's that?
Didn't you just say change the first sport to 400, the second sport to
200,
200?
third sport free.
Okay, so there's 3 numbers over there, so go back to what your formula is.
I think if he's breaking it down
It's
into
really
each
just
sport.
Oh, then
Per sport.
you played a third
One sport,
Okay,
400,
sorry.
2 sports, 300,
Okay.
3 sports, 200 per sport.
Additional, yeah.
And then, so it goes through this whole scenario,
Okay.
and that generates $67,700 for boys. We did that for girls. $400, nope, 300, 200. Obviously, family caps aren't necessarily involved in here, and that would be a whole other secondary session. 52,600. So for a grand total of 120,300, our deficit is solid. So that's the reason why we are looking to increase fees, and we put a proposal out there. It didn't go through, but what we need to do. I mean, we can look at trying to cut costs, but we can talk about that. There's really not a whole lot. I mean, we've cut back a little bit on transportation, some busing.
And like there were savings like in the wrestling. The first meeting we had, and the second meeting, we didn't really have this information, which is the problem with it. But now that we look at it, there doesn't seem to be a lot of places to really dive into. We're open for thoughts, but as we're looking at it, it's not, other than, cutting coaches, cutting the team, cutting, even that, no one wants to do that.
Say the numbers one more time so I can write them down. Look at them. So the first,
So it'd be 400 for the first sport, and then 200 for the second
200 for the
sport,
second.
and then third sport for.
But we can do any, I mean, I think we're trying to hold on to at least the third sport, trying to keep it free or minimal. I mean, just for participation reasons. But it's clear we need to do something. I mean, we're way behind. I mean, not that we have to do what other people are doing, but our neighbors all have 300 per. And this is probably a year old, so this is all
Three
this is
sport,
going
three
up.
schools are.
250, 250, 250. I mean,
What are the 3 schools that are going to up their fees?
Well,
Duxbury,
Duxbury,
Silverlake.
and Wilbraham still discussing, they had a big increase this year.
And obviously those districts are in tough financial times. Duxbury, maybe looking at shooting for another override. I don't think people in Hanson clearly just cut, 18 teachers, so.
the only thing I worry about with this is really like thinking about the runners.
The increase?
Yeah, the running,
Oh, because it's.
because most of the runners, right, Tom, most runners are free sport.
yeah, I mean, I would say probably 80 to
And that's why we felt like third sport.
at least 3/4 probably
Yeah,
more than that.
Kind of youth, so then if a football player wants to come out and do track, okay, they pay for winter track and then they just do spring because why not? That's
Yeah.
kind of how our mentality was, because you're right, the 3 sport runners are cross country track and track. So we
Yeah.
felt like the 3 sport fee, we didn't want to punish that one group
Right,
because we felt like they would get hit.
right, and their sport
Yeah,
costly some
but we
money,
find that most of it, we do
Yeah.
have 2 sport athletes, whether it be.
mostly too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do all three.
Excuse me?
I'd be curious to see how many do all three.
The runners?
It's
I
very.
was a runner. I can do all three.
But that's also because you're a basketball player.
Right.
And I think unfortunately
No, so
today,
They don't do that. Nobody does that anymore.
I'm afraid that, so many of our student athletes are being pushed outside.
I agree.
I think it's probably.
My whole cross country team in high school, I didn't play basketball, but half our team was basketball players. They ran cross country.
Yeah, the cross-country numbers are
Well,
lots.
They don't do it anymore.
All right, so I just didn't want to make a blind assumption that that was the case.
Well,
Right.
I'm using them as an example, but I
It's
guess
a good example.
part of what I'm thinking about, and part of what I'm thinking about is that that some of the sports, there is a much lower per athlete cost than
Yes.
others.
We
And
know
also,
we didn't have it.
Just like there
What was
are.
that?
I mean, we didn't have it like last time. We
way
didn't
more
have it.
expensive.
Oh, really?
And some of that is like the bang for your buck part, right? Like, you know,
There's no
if you're
cost.
paying $400 to run cross country, when the expenses are, you know, extremely low, especially when we take out what we have in our last chart, is the only one I have, you know, their share of the fees and all that stuff. I mean, that feels off, right? That you're paying the same amount to run cross country in the same season as football, and football's getting head to toe uniform, and cross country gets a penny.
Right.
So that part feels off, right? Because we keep wanting to look at the equity piece too, not just solving the budget, but like, where are we going with?
The equity piece, right, we have to look at that. It's hard with the various booster groups because we don't have one.
This also
Yeah, but-
calculates how much fee revenue we're deriving in each
That makes
sport.
So I'm talking about just operating costs, beyond like the sweatshirts and the special jackets and stuff, but just what it costs to put that team into competition, right? And I did spend some time reaching out to the various booster organizations this week to find out, are you paying for things that are necessary for play? And I was happy to learn that not too many, right? There's not too many things that boosters are paying for that are necessities. You know, I think one thing that pretty much everyone brought up was coaching, right? And so that part I did want to circle back to at some point. But I think if we're looking at, you know, flat fees that go across the board, then we have to talk about equity.
Do we have any thoughts on how we might make, I'm not disagreeing at all, just like thinking about like a solution to that? Is there a way we can?
That's what people do, right?
Well, I think
Here's
some
this-
schools have a stipend on certain.
No, I know.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Right.
that, you can look, this is the whole state. You go through this, there's a lot of, you know, you can look at, like, you know, Duxbury, ice hockey and sailing pays an extra fee. You know, a lot of these, you know, Kingfield, like, there's just, if you go through, you know, a lot of these are just straight, but there's also a lot of ice hockey is their most expensive sport, by far. Football's a close second, and then because and this is kind of, because there was a few not as many cheerleaders, and we had to rent the facility, and I don't necessarily see renting the facility as being on that sport, but cheerleading was also costly per sport. But dollars-wise, it's ice hockey and football. And if you go through this, you'll see across the state that, you know, there's some hockeys in here, but
I mean, in and out of major league, Pembroke, Silver Lake, Hingham, Duxbury, Whitman Hanson, there's all an additional charge for hockey because of the cost. Now, I would also tell you that the hockey parents pay an awful lot. It's an expensive sport to play.
You're kidding.
just-
No?
I did not know.
Technically, your child's a goalie.
Sure, or if you have three. Yeah, yeah.
You know, you're not walking out of the skate shop, you're buying a new stick for less than $300. It's just, it's the nature of the beast of that sport. You know, the ice time is expensive. The officials for hockey are the most expensive officials that we have. We don't get any, we don't have a rink, we don't own a rink.
Right.
We pay our rinks that we have to. So it's every sport has a challenge. Gymnastics, I will go to my grave. We don't have a home rink for them, we have no equipment for them. Those girls are some of the most dedicated athletes that we have in the entire building.
Practicing late at night.
And they practice in Braintree, in Hanover, in Hingham, late at night. So it's a challenge, it really is, you know what I mean? I say this all the time, I wish we could build our own facility and just have Marshfield High School and just, you know, swim, dive, gymnastics, cheer, football, hockey, track, it'd be great. You know, we don't live in utopia, it's just so hard.
No, but
And I think what we're doing is we're trying to figure that out
okay.
and trying to bring in that equitable part too as well. I wonder how we get to that equality when we look at certain sports and what they are.
I think I would push towards a tiered system,
Yeah.
I just can't
Well,
think
and
to
look at
ask
the-
families to spend the same amount of money and just not have anything close to an equitable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would
No,
agree with
yeah,
that. I think we
that's
talk
right.
about the same thing with sub varsities, like asking a sub varsity player to pay,
Right.
$600 for two sports, the same as a varsity player, you're gonna have two completely different experiences, especially depending on what sport,
Yeah.
You might only play 10 games where varsity athletes play 20.
Freshman basketball,
So
girls
we
basketball.
also,
perfect
it's like,
example.
it's so hard to, the tiered system might be better, but, I don't.
12 schools.
Right, you're right. At some point you have to put the stopper in.
Exactly.
Right? Like, but I think, my opinion,
Track it.
one person would be to have something tiered, if possible. And if there are, if some of the sports are incurring extra costs, then maybe that's what we do.
Yeah, I think so.
So just to kind of encapsulate this, so boys soccer, there was.
So I'm just curious why I have that up.
What's
So
that?
from our sheet from last year,
What's that?
oh, wait. Never mind, keep going.
This is this year.
Yeah.
This is just this fall.
Okay.
So just this fall, there's 34,455 directly to boys soccer. I'm keeping football out of this because that's that weird, so there were some uniforms, I think, small
Yeah,
JV
yeah.
uniforms, a small amount. That's pretty much the difference between boys and girls soccer there. There may be a little transportation difference, but you can see that number 34.4, and we don't expect the fees to completely cover everything, but boys soccer, 13,600 in fees from last year.
Wait,
Broken out.
did you change that to the new numbers?
Those are the old numbers. Those are new numbers, right there.
Those are.
Oh yeah, those are new. Yeah, let's go back. Sorry. Yeah.
Rich, can you hear us at
Good
all?
point. Thank you. 300, 150, 100. Yeah, that's more like it. 8,500. 8,500 fees collected, 34,000 spent directly on a sport. So, I mean, that's, and again, it's like, that's the reason club sports and all that are paying $1,000 because that's how much it costs to do this. I mean, it's like, so that's basic. I mean, you can go right across the board. I mean, so the football scenario, 14,250. They do collect 20,000 in gate receipts, so that's 34,000. But we spent directly on football 71. We're trending less than 50%. Like, some sports are a little bit different, but that's across the board. So, I mean, that's.
Okay, so I just want to pause for 1 second because we're using these numbers and, to make future decisions about costs and stuff, but I think I want to make sure that we're using appropriate numbers and that we are looking at equity, because if we do this first and then look at some equity pieces later, what if that adjusts the budget, right? So for example,
Just what, sorry? Just.
so if we do this now, right, but then we look at equity next, right, and then we want to adjust things. So I just want to pause for a second and talk about coaching and learn a little bit more and understand a little bit more about how sports get different amounts of different numbers of coaching. So for example, like boys soccer doesn't have an assistant varsity coach, but girls does. It wasn't on our coaches sheet. Our coaches salary sheet does in here. It's paid by the boosters. Yeah.
Rich has joined us.
Hi, Rich. Oh, this is new. This was added today, the 25-26 athletic coaches.
Yeah, I made some changes on that.
There's a
25,
budget
26
overview
ones.
spreadsheet that we worked on, that I was thinking, that too. And that's what,
So there isn't a budget.
I guess,
An
if
assistant,
it's not,
no.
no, okay.
So how I know safety is one piece,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, there needs to be a coach to player ratio for things like
I
football.
think it came up in negotiations a couple of times ago.
Okay.
It was before I was there, but I'm pretty sure it was the assistant principal. And if I'm mistaken, Tom, just correct me, I thought they had to go to school committee and ask for an assistant position, a paid assistant position. We've had.
The team has to ask for that, or who asked for that?
I would ask for it.
Oh, okay.
The coaches would ask me for a paid assistant position. I'd go to the school committee and say, can we have an assistant boys soccer coach?
Okay,
Paid position.
okay.
I thought that's what it was.
So how do you decide when to do that? That's my question, like
So
how?
it would be based, it would, like you said, it would be based on numbers,
Okay.
numbers in the program.
Okay.
Um,
And then if the numbers shift, then that position is released?
Yes.
Or since it was already,
Because they're all technically a year position.
okay,
So that would be the same, I think, a couple of years ago, we did that with like, if there wasn't enough numbers in freshman baseball, we're not going to have a freshman baseball
Right.
coach. So that position either goes away or maybe it's allocated to a different spot, to a team that needs a freshman team.
okay. And so right now, you can only do that like the week the season starts, because of the registration numbers, you might,
All the coaches do preseason meetings, so they know pretty much coming in. You're right, people can drop, but for the most part, we know before registrations. I don't say this going is better than me. People register, even after the season is started, which is frustrating for us.
well, you're not supposed to be able to try out if you don't register before the season
Well, we
starts.
give everyone a free.
Right, you have to have your
we give everyone a free. The physicals are probably on file because they're
Okay.
playing before,
Okay.
but,
The track is kind of like an ongoing side.
Yeah.
We don't hold that.
You
But
can't
yes,
wait
you're right, like,
Right.
if you're not registered on and you show up to basketball, yes, you have to register before you can do that, but track's kind
and a
of.
lot of that's because it's a cut sport as well.
Wrestling
So-
too,
Okay,
they
okay.
kind of recruit, so just keep it.
So, all right, so there's,
So I think it says in the contract. if I'm not
Right here,
mistaken.
A1. Assistant varsity coach, all high school sports eligible positions filled on an as-needed basis determined by director of athletics per board.
Right, that's it.
okay, so that's the question is like,
That's been there for a while.
oh, okay, so that's how it's approved.
That was
but-
put in 2000,
Okay,
14?
I understand how it's approved, but my question is how the decision is made for which teams get a certain number of coaches versus other ones.
Numbers, right?
Yeah, so,
Coaches come to me and ask for an assistant paid position.
okay. So I think that's somewhere where we could maybe look at equity
Yeah.
and also like where our numbers are at. Like girls cross country, 24-25,
Yeah.
had 13 runners, a head coach and an assistant coach.
So we used to have two head coaches,
Okay.
and now we just have one head coach and an assistant. Yeah, he does both the girls and boys.
But there's an assistant,
With an assistant.
right? But there's no,
On either side.
what do you mean?
So
Boys cross country
The-
didn't have an assistant in our chart.
If you look at the A1, I
We
mean,
had a
what,
position for it, though.
We did.
Yeah.
It just wasn't filled, so it wasn't on that.
When I coached cross country, it was head coach, assistant coach, and coach both. And then they went to 2 separate coaches, and now they're back to a coach and head and assistant.
Right. Part of that was because we couldn't find another head coach, I
We
think.
couldn't find a boys assistant position.
Yeah.
Okay,
We did it in the past,
okay.
Yeah.
Campus paid.
So-
but if you look at A1, I mean, this A1 was, that's when Scott was athletic director, we put that in. And it was a little bit of a way to combat all the volunteer coaches that were running around that we really didn't have. I mean, we still have a bunch of volunteer coaches, but you can see the stipends, I mean, it's minimal. I mean, it's 14, 16, 18. So it's a small amount for those people that were helping the program, and it was kind of determined on, like, who was there almost all the time and trying to bump them up. Who knows what's going on then? Who knows what's going on now with, all those volunteer coaches running around, whether or not they're being paid, compensated somehow, not under our jurisdiction, which shouldn't happen. So, I mean, that A1 was put in, I mean, because all we had was varsity, JV, and freshmen. The A1s were put in for those other people that were helping out the programs, and it was
Okay,
kind of,
so that's what my question is, right? How is that decided? And looking at the equity piece, because every team has, every team that I know of is paying, I don't know, boosters for a coach, so, or several, right? So like,
Well, taking this out, we're paying their assistants.
And we have just as many volunteer coaches as we do regular coaches.
right, so my question is, right, like, are we being equitable with who's getting, look at, there's A3s, there's, you know, like, are we being equitable with who's getting assistance? And does it make sense, are we paying attention to that, those numbers? And is that where it's going to be, where it's going to stay? Do we need to adjust that as we're looking at what our costs are and how we're going to adjust the fees? You know?
Is it a situation where there are sports that you feel don't have enough, anybody feels don't have the sufficient amount of coaches for that particular sport? I guess that's the question.
It just, so I don't know 100% what all the safety ratios would be, right? But there's,
Well, yeah.
there's a lot of, we don't have many, so for my calculations from the sheet that we got before, from the spreadsheet, there's only 6.
There's two
Varsities.
ways, the way I look at it is two ways of looking at equity here. One is the particular sport getting what they need for
Correct.
coaches? And the other is there one sport that's getting a gross amount of expenditure for it that's somehow taking away from the other sports? So it's like we really have to sort of define what is equitable.
We need to look at both things.
Well, we
Right.
do,
Are-
but in
are-
terms of equity, for me,
Uh-huh.
I would think that equity would be, are you getting what you need for your sport?
Right.
Right?
I think that's, it had to be a number to before when it was added, right, Tom? I think with Scott, Scott and Dom were kind of the ones.
Yeah, when we-
who were pushing it.
2000
There had to be like an amount of athletes in order to get an assistant to support the amount of, it was kind of like a
Okay.
ratio. I think
Okay.
that's kind of what it's based off of. It's like
Okay.
how many athletes is this one coach responsible for? Does
So
it make
it's
sense
not-
to have? an
Like
assistant?
if we have a huge interest, say, I'll just give an example, like this doesn't happen, but if we had a huge interest in girls soccer and we couldn't, for some reason, we weren't running a JV team, but yet we have football with all these
Correct.
coaches, that would be inequitable.
Correct,
But as long, for me, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but as long as the sports have what they need.
right,
Now, then there's the other question is about, do they have too many coaches?
correct,
And that's a whole different
Right.
discussion.
correct.
But for me, equity is just, because obviously you're not going to need as many coaches, well, I would think obviously you're not going to need as many coaches for a sport like golf or a sport like cross country as you would a sport like football, for instance.
Right.
More kids,
Right.
different.
Again, safety, right.
Correct.
Correct, I understand that. So that I'm trying to ask, how are we keeping an eye on that? And as we prepare the budget, can we look at, are there teams that we should be adding an assistant?
That's a good question.
You know, because let's not go ahead with the operational budget if we're not including that.
Is there any sport right now that stands out, like if you look at it, just is always saying, geez, I really need more coaches, and you're saying no?
If I had the coaches, if I had all the coaches, I have the coaches, I would need more
Yes.
assistants.
Yeah.
But the reality is, when was the last time we had an assistant coach?
We added one.
Well, and is it,
We've been trying to be respectful of the budget process, so where have we added an assistant coach in the last?
No, I think
6
there's
years.
only one pitch.
I think it's pretty much stayed since we put it in, I think.
What's that?
Since we put it in, I think it's pretty much been,
I think so too. Like you look at those football numbers, I think I could go back and show you the 1996 roster, they would be up there. Those would be, no, those general.
Right,
Those are the-
so for example, if we're gonna look, so if we, I brought up the soccer program, so the soccer program has very similar numbers,
Those are boys.
girls and boys. So the girls soccer has an assistant, boys soccer doesn't. Is that a safety issue, is that?
We lost an assistant coach and we went down from 3 to 2 teams.
Okay,
Some of the coaches out there aren't with us anymore. So boys soccer couldn't run 3 teams.
Yeah.
So
but they did last year.
they did last year.
Okay.
Last year was the first year they went back, or 2 years now. So what they did was they just kept the 3 positions, freshman, JV, varsity coaches. Because when we dropped the freshman coach,
Okay. But do they need one? Does varsity need an assistant?
They have a way to use it all.
that's a really good example, because that's apples to apples.
Does that,
Yeah.
right?
So-
So,
And it used to
Yeah.
be there.
It used to
When
be.
it got approved, that was one of the
Yeah,
positions that was.
that was
added.
approved along.
okay, so is that something that we should add into the budget moving forward? That it is a necessary thing that is equitable with girls? Is that other teams? Is it a safety issue? Is it?
I would think it's the same, I mean, if you have to, again, you're trying to look at two sports, which might not be apples to apples,
Mhm.
but I think if you have the same sport, the same numbers,
Yeah.
you should have the
I
same.
think it was
numbers.
added to be equitable, yeah, so I would say that's probably the only one that's probably off tier for boys versus girls.
Girls cross country had assistant boys.
Again, Coach.
I'm just saying, like,
before
boys who
Coach
have the-
Tyler, I don't want to hear this, but I was surprised when they got it, and this is going back to 2015, I was surprised when they got an assistant.
Yeah.
Based on the numbers.
Yeah.
I think that-
So this, I mean, we're talking about varsity assistants, right?
Correct.
Those numbers stay similar all the time.
Yeah.
Our varsity, except for the non-cut sports,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those numbers stay pretty similar. A soccer roster is not gonna drop down to 12,
No.
right?
we did
So that number would be the same all the time.
Right.
So I'm not sure, so should we add an assistant to that?
I think we're gonna keep the girls off, yeah.
If we're keeping them soccer.
Okay, do we need to keep the girls soccer one?
Again, so, if we're talking financial responsibility, or are we talking that it's good practice to have that other coach out there? It's good practice to have that other coach out there.
Well, that's
If
what
we're
we
talking
want.
financial responsibility, then you know what, you could make an argument that coaching position could be eliminated.
So I think
Now,
right now,
are we-
we're,
Sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off. Are we saving the town, are we saving the school by eliminating a position that's $1,800? I don't know.
right, but I think right now, we're trying to reset the budget and reset our fees to
Right.
figure out, are we covering what we need to cover? Are we using the town's money responsibly,
Yeah.
right? And so it doesn't make sense to not set it at the best that we can, at the, what we should be, or what is best practice, right? And certainly if there's a safety issue, like if one soccer coach can't supervise 50 kids, or 25, 26, right, then that does feel like a concern.
Yes.
And I don't think it's fair then to say, okay, well, boosters, yeah, we do need one.
Yeah.
It's a safety, it's a best practice, it's whatever, so boosters can go run that. We're, I don't know, the money's all coming from the same place.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Here's an example. I'm down at Sandwich. My kid breaks his nose. There's no one to go to the hospital with him. I'm going.
Right,
I have no assistant coach.
right.
So, shouldn't say this because it's on public, but for 26 years, I've paid my assistant coach, and I always will, for that reason alone. 3 years later, Plymouth South kid's eating bird seeds as an allergic reaction. I'm at the
It's supposed to be
hospital.
big for
First- Oh,
Even
it's-
more reason to have more supervision.
But, so I'm at the hospital with him.
Bird feed, all of a sudden.
I'm at the hospital with him, and,
Right.
it's my assistant coach who's there. So, again, in practice, absolutely. Because what's best for our, again, and I'm not a good person to have this conversation because I don't look at the kids as money, I look at the kids as kids.
Mhm.
And so like, and I get it, in these financial times, it's hard, but safety and security for 33 years has been something I've lived and breathed every single day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that concerns me. That's why we're all CPR certified. That's why I train on the AED, because
Okay.
God forbid that time comes, I want to be ready.
Right.
But, yeah, it would be great to have my assistant Amy next to me and say,
Right,
Amy, take the kids, or Amy, help me.
okay, so
You know?
take
So,
your brain that wants everyone to have everything.
yeah,
And then the other side of the spectrum is we can't afford anything.
exactly.
Right, so let's
It's a
go,
hard-
so
it's
go
a
to the
hard
middle,
balance.
so think about what teams it is necessary to, only you guys can answer this, you're the athletic department, what teams do you think are necessary to have an assistant coach?
So I'm
And then
gonna
we'll figure out how to do it after.
So I would say the most simplest aspect, if you're looking at it that way, and we have a nursing team in the room, if there's a
I'm not a
contact
nurse.
sport, I always call you a
I'm not a
nurse, this is
nurse.
trouble. You're a nurse.
I work in the nurse's office.
But you'll be the first to know, and your children have played contact
Yes.
sports, and I said, if you
I
are,
have four kids and.
I go right there and say, any sport that has contact involved in it is an inherent risk.
Okay, so listen now. All right, so football already has them, boys soccer.
You know, right down the list.
Okay, so boys
Boys
soccer
soccer,
needs one,
girls
you're
soccer.
saying, does field hockey need one? Okay,
Okay.
okay, so do cross-country teams need an assistant coach?
Again, from my perspective, to drag someone out of the pits with a broken leg, Yes, I'm sorry, but that's where I go. And so probably I'm not the best person to have at the table for this.
Depends on the vacancy.
Lauren, here,
There's 13 and 14.
there's eight assistant varsity coaches that are in green. So we, like,
Across
across
the
all sports.
fall school.
Gymnastics, swimming.
I
I
only
think we
have
can,
6.
only one coach, right? Gymnastics.
No, there's an assistant.
It's right there. It's right there.
No, I'm saying only one head coach.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Only one head coach. That's their second person.
Correct.
Yes,
For teams
Girls
that-
hockey, same thing. Girls hockey, same thing, right?
Teams that have one coach or one team.
Have an
have
assistant
an
person.
assistant.
Okay.
And then it was looked at numbers. Who needs an assistant to support the numbers that they bring in?
Rugby.
So I know like basketball, it was pitched, but it got denied because they were roster of 15
correct.
per sport.
At
So
the
that, so at the time, so do they all have assistants? Yes, but if they by us, no. Should they be? Again, it's, if we're walking on that balance beam, no, probably not, like they're fine. Same thing, I think with field hockey. Does he have one? Yes. Do we need to pay him? Probably not, right? So I think as far as like an equity thing, if we're just looking at what we have now and to kind of make it balanced, yeah, I would say boys soccer would need to get put back.
Okay, so this is helpful. So if you only have one team, one varsity team,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then having an assistant gives that second person. So that means boys cross country should have an assistant.
Yeah.
Cheerleading should have an assistant. What you're
Yes,
telling me, you only have
Yes.
one team.
but yes,
If they don't have, if they aren't building the JV team that year. yes.
Right.
Yes.
This isn't how much to reduce our budget.
no. That's why I should read it there.
Well,
Sorry.
I mean, that can't be the only goal.
I didn't say it wasn't, it was kind
Okay,
of.
well, you're. Okay, so girls hockey has one because they have,
Yeah. Yep.
Boys hockey.
And this is the-
and that's contact,
Oh,
and that's
yes.
numbers.
So that's
So you
been asked for how many years?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
And it's gotten denied.
Okay,
That's like-
so this is our wish list of assistants.
Yes,
Okay, so following what you're saying is the guidelines for athletic directors of numbers and contact, right? Contact sports, you said.
So I think I throw the safety one in there, yeah, that's.
Okay,
good.
so boys hockey would be on the wish list.
Yeah. I think it's probably should be, but-
And then does girls track only have one coach? They only have a varsity coach?
Is this indoors or
This is spring.
spring?
No, winter.
They have,
So winter we have
So each
girls and a boys head coach.
technically that's one team.
It is.
Boys track last year, you had a head coach and a JV coach.
And this is-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Oh, it's the same, right, it's the same,
Yeah.
it's the same
Yeah.
tier. So does that person do both boys and girls as assistant?
They help, but they don't get paid for it. They
So
get-
does girls winter track need an assistant?
they have one, yes. This is the first year we've actually, since Mr. Fox.
It was
No, this year they did, but last year they didn't.
Right,
Correct.
it was in the budget, but it hasn't been paid for a few years.
Okay, but they will moving forward.
Yeah, the resident,
Okay, and then,
Spring has one.
okay, the lacrosse with the contact and the
Yes.
safety numbers, they should have an assistant?
yeah. Yes, I.
Both boys and girls? They don't have
They
one.
don't have, no, for the junior coach.
Rugby has 3 coaches for 21 kids.
So he has an assistant and JV,
Oh, we have a B-side coach.
But there's
Yeah.
there's.
So those, that's one, we've gone from 56 players down to,
So I think that was one of the
Yeah.
positions we were looking might not exist.
Exactly.
To then potentially fill one of these.
in the spring.
Okay.
We-
And
we're
the same
looking-
thing with girls lacrosse, they had 3 coaches last year, but 2 teams.
Yeah, so it
Yes.
depends on numbers, we might not fill that traction.
There might be a slight position somewhere else.
Okay. But rugby, it goes down to 1 team with the contact with need an assistant.
We're hoping we keep rugby, yeah.
So if we have, she's saying
Oh, I'm
maybe
sorry.
3 coaches. If it-
No.
No, but if it goes down to 1 team, as it was last
Oh,
year,
then it would just
then
be
they would need an
varsity
assistant.
Yes.
Okay, but no JV.
No JV
Okay.
coach.
Yeah, because that's safety.
Yeah, big, big. Yep.
Okay, and then, so tennis, boys and girls tennis only has 1 team. Do they need assistants? Boys tennis last year had 9 players, girls had 21.
Yeah.
No.
Tennis, the tennis people.
Okay, and
I
then
would say-
last year, girls track had an assistant and boys track didn't. Does boys track need an assistant?
Yeah,
This is really, he was boys and girls.
he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's listed as girls, it's.
Oh, just assistant guy,
Yeah.
just both.
Oh, yeah.
And I think our hope is track is to do a little more of that.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
indoors and outdoors. Yeah, combine
Okay.
both teams.
Two head coaches and assistants.
Yeah, this would be more eyes on.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have. So that would be adding, Tom, that would be adding 7 assistant coaches, but dropping 2.
But maybe, right, exactly. But it's still a gain of 5.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Boys freshman lacrosse. After all that, 17?
Okay, well, where are we with expenditures and revenue? So the only other thing I wanted to ask about for expenditures and revenue is the high rental costs places that we have,
Yeah.
right? So are there opportunities to have cheaper rental costs, to co-op with other teams, to locate, I dug a little into gymnastics, there's some stuff going on there with rentals, I don't know, what else can be, also with the gate sales at hockey games. Is there any negotiating or maneuvering around? You know, I think when I go to other varsity games, it's parents from the teams collecting the money. I imagine they're not collecting the rink. You know,
I asked
right?
about that. Nobody said they collect any money. Varsity games or some varsity games, all goes to the rink.
Whitman Hanson collects at Davis, at the Summer Street Rockland rink. A month, they always have parents at the door collecting money.
But
For varsity
that,
games.
but that money isn't going back to the schools. So like, and Hobmark is part of the blog as well too, that.
Right.
because of
Yes,
the
yeah.
So at the end of the year, based on how many tickets are sold by the blog for Marshfield, Duxbury, whoever
Okay.
plays there,
Okay.
we do get a kickback. I think
Okay.
last year was about $1,400.
No.
Yeah, it's minimal.
That's not,
They take it off our,
It's not much.
ice
no.
They take it off. Our last ice time usually comes, our full ice time comes in February. They usually take off, I think this year was probably $1,400 from our payment.
Is there different ice time to get at different price points?
we're pretty limited as far as.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. We could go early, we could go 5 days a week, 5:30 practices, I guess. If we could get that, because I think some of the other schools are trying to do the same thing. Some of those early morning practices are cheaper, so I think the rinks are kind of fair and trying to bounce it around. So this year, Friday mornings, we have ice down in the morning, before school. But I think like Thursday, probably a different school, Wednesday, different school, they try to. I think they do.
But is it like a yearly thing that when we get the ice time, all those things are weighed, and if there's money to be saved, there is it?
Yeah, I would
This
tell
is
you.
like the only option.
Yeah, no. I would tell you, because the sheets of ice go up every year, I don't think we're saving anything.
Yeah.
And now it's $4.88 for a sheet for 15 minutes.
Rich, did you hear that? Rich likes to talk about that.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like a
We
subject.
do use the mini one, which is cheaper.
We do use them anyway against the bog, which is cheaper.
They don't kind of rotate.
It's good for skills.
But that
to
one,
use that way, but I
so
don't know what else.
The JV boys hockey ice
Yeah.
is funded by the hockey boosters or no?
They cover it much.
They cover a sheet. Yeah, they cover a sheet.
One sheet for the whole season?
One sheet a week for the whole season. Yeah, one a week, yeah.
So just to back to the one we have, we showed the actuals. We have now a form that shows the running, expenditures and encumbrances. We had a proposal made for an athletic fee adjustment, not this year, but, moving forward. And then we did start talking about, just to sum up, some equity and then some coaching salary issues. Although we didn't really get into coaching salaries per se.
That's gonna go through negotiation.
It has to go to negotiation. We can provide,
We have those on page one.
correct.
Coaches
Right,
have
right,
that.
the comparisons.
Comparisons.
But really what we were doing just a moment ago is in fact talking about who should have what numbers of coaches, which I think is an important consideration. That was hopefully at least get us thinking and moving forward. You do want to present on that, I don't want to move it, but we do want to present on the freshman lacrosse window. Do we have something on that?
Well, yeah, again, just this, we don't have a freshman boys lacrosse program, we haven't had it. And again, these are just some rough numbers that we've had through the last couple of years. And again, this is an example of what you said earlier to start the meeting, if you check the box on any other sports that we interested in playing. According, and we'll know more on Wednesday when we have sign-ups, but there could potentially be 40 freshman boys lacrosse players.
Rich, can you hear all this? I want to make sure this is a new proposal.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Great.
So, and again, if that was the case, 40 freshmen is a lot of freshmen. We have two teams right now, a varsity and a JV team. At 40 to that mix, we're returning roughly between 45 and 50. We could have, we're probably going to have more than 80 players trying out for two teams. So we're hoping that if we had a 13 freshman team, we could keep those, not keep all 40 freshmen, we could keep, some freshmen in that program and kind of go from there.
Chris, do you have any questions?
How does it impact the budget? How does adding
adding
a
freshman position?
Yeah.
So it looks like, and again, I don't know this for a fact, but depending on numbers, I don't think we're going to need to run 3 girls lacrosse teams based on the numbers. So if we can take that freshman position and slide it over to the boys, then that will impact it.
I heard boys baseball numbers are a little low for freshmen too.
They have it, because our summer in the day were 8.
Yeah.
So
I reached out to the baseball.
we can't run a freshman team with 8 players, you know what I mean? So there could be some of that happens. Now, this is what happens, it happens every year. Everyone has a baseball glove, if there's a baseball bat, they go out to the field. Friends like, we need to play. You never know, that 8 could turn into 12, and the 12 we could keep it. Or we simply go in and say, you know what, we only have 7 viable freshman players, got the program to keep it 7, and baseball is still a cut sport, unfortunately, it's terrible. But it's, then we do away with freshman baseball. Yeah.
We also might be losing a rugby team.
Could very well, could very well. So there could be, with an allocation of coaching funds, there could be, really, we could actually be saving money in the spring by adding another position, but by losing others. But I would tell you, based on last year's, it was 117 in the fall, 94 in the winter. I'm sorry, 100 in the winter and 94 in the spring. So coaching-wise, the spring is our smallest season. That could become smaller now, even if we added a boys lacrosse position, because I do think we will be losing a couple self-varsity teams.
Did anything change drastically in the winter for numbers of teams? Did we lose any or gain any?
As far as this winter?
Yeah.
No, we stayed there, stayed the same. Yeah. 3 levels in both basketball and everything else stayed the same. We didn't end up running we didn't unfortunately run a JV girls hockey team, hockey team based on numbers. We talked about that earlier.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
How many schools have freshman lacrosse teams?
That'd be a challenge. Because right.
Are they asking
See,
for a freshman
that's
team?
what I keep coming back to.
Well, wait, are they asking
It's
for a
like we're
freshman
creating
team?
these teams and they're gonna play 4 games. and-
My understanding is they're asking for a second JV team that would operate in the same league as the JV, so two.
That's,
So that's the thing
Sorry.
between
let's
JV
go against everything we should
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Why? Explain, help me learn.
One of the reasons why that's happening is a lot of freshmen are really talented, so it's about probably keeping more of the upperclassmen and just making it more fluid roster. So you have, 2 teams of freshmen and sophomores and maybe some juniors that are playing at the lower level just to kind of keep those numbers up. Because if you had, just 2 teams, you're cutting a lot of either freshmen or your upperclassmen, which at the same time, kind of needs to happen because by the time they get
I think what happens in a lot of schools, we don't, I was saying this earlier, 12 schools in the Patriot League, only 3 of us have a remaining freshman girls basketball team. And it's legit freshman girls. I think what a lot of schools try to do is, they don't have enough freshmen, they don't have enough sophomores, so they're short both JV and freshmen, so they try to combine them to keep 3 teams to try to grow the sport to their school. So So I think you see a lot of these JV1, JV2 teams, when really that lower tier JV team is a freshman team with maybe 2 or 3 juniors, sophomores playing. So they can keep people, they're not letting people go.
It's just to keep 3 teams.
Yeah, just to keep 3
Really.
teams.
What are you guys recommending? Is this what the process is asking for, or is this what the athletic department is
Well,
thinks is a good idea?
for me, I mean, if we have 40 freshmen trying out, I would love to keep 3 teams for the simple fact is that's a lot of kids that we're cutting that we could keep. And
Freshman teams, correct me if I'm wrong, but they sort of ebb and flow based on the interest. So
Right, sure.
if this were a year that we had a giant girls lacrosse interest,
Right.
we change that too. Is that true? Or is that-
4
They
years
had
ago.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, it was 4 years ago. And it's funny, now 4 years, now they're the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
Now juniors and seniors, the girls side.
Yeah. But this isn't like an atypical practice if you know you have a huge
Right,
freshman
no.
team in any sport.
Yeah,
You
no.
try to adjust.
Right. And I do think, because there is such a strain on families today, Mr. Miller would tell you, like, playing high school sports is probably some of the best bang for your buck you're going to get, because if you're playing in some of these club teams and AU programs, they're very expensive. I like to think that Marshfield High School still has an offering for kids who really want to be part of a program or want to play a sport. Because I think everyone in this room would tell you that being involved in school is real is going to help the
So
person.
what are the numbers for the cost?
For the cost?
Yeah.
Well, you're looking at a coaching position first of all. Uniforms is going to be a real challenge because that's a huge number.
Where are they on the uniform sample now?
So they technically would come in
Next
next
year.
year, but if we're looking at these numbers, there would be more. So right now, we only have 30 returning varsity uniforms and then 19 JV right now. So we would be looking to push those down and probably move varsity boys across a
We
cycle.
have to move them up a cycle, which is a year.
Would it be more cost effective to just get cheap stuff for the freshman team?
Yep, the only thing is, well, yes, I mean, obviously if you buy cheaper, it's going to be better.
Yeah.
We were just thinking long-term, if we bump lacrosse up by a year, we'll be able to finish off the entire program for the next 4 years. Where we might run into trouble 2 years from now with sub-varsity uniforms that are really not in very good shape.
Yeah, I just don't think the quality, like the ones, if you just push everything down now, bring them up a cycle, then I think you're set, because then you have more than enough. You have like 50 for the sub varsities, and then you still have 30 to 40 for varsity.
Okay, so we're looking at coach at 3,000.
Yeah, the sub varsity tier.
Yeah. I don't.
I think it is. I think it's like
It's much lower.
3,400.
Yeah.
I keep bringing up this talking.
Close to it.
Yeah, you look, for a freshman coach, you're looking
See,
right at 3,000. Like the Philadelphia schedule is less, we can, but probably 10 would be good if we could get it. Half of that would be home, half of that would be home officials, and half would be transportation.
So it's like 117. Usually for freshman level, they use one official, so they have time and a half, so it's 117 for official, sometimes 5, and then 465 for last times. So that's
I mean, these conversations are hard. We're going to try to balance
Yep.
all of the things, right? It feels tricky when, Rich, are you still here?
This is one, it's very good.
Rich?
Yep.
We're looking at 5,000, so like 6,000 or something.
Okay.
Those three things.
I feel so it feels like if the numbers are there, right? If you have the kids that want to play.
Yeah, this is,
So we're kind
well,
of, and I
right
think
here.
there
I
are
agree with
good captain's practices right now, did you say?
56.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I'm fine with having this go to the committee, right? And then maybe we'll have more information after the meeting, more regular numbers about interest. I think if we have numbers that are presenting for a team and we have other teams with freshman teams, right? It feels like just because you're last doesn't mean you don't get one, right? Like if baseball has one and basketball has one and, you know, all that stuff, then that seems like it makes sense.
It sounds like other teams might not be running.
Right.
So it seems
I do
relatively
think,
budget neutral.
Right.
Yeah,
So, if we didn't have it, we'd be looking at cutting, you know, double-digit number of kids that
Oh,
want to play a
definitely.
sport.
yeah.
A high school athlete that wants
And I
to
think
play a
it's a
sport.
sustainable sport too, like I think always the process pretty healthy.
The numbers have been
Keep that in
consistent.
mind.
Mhm.
This is definitely a spike for this freshman class.
Yeah.
We had, you know, again, I don't.
That's why the baseball number's down.
Well, exactly, I was gonna say, this kind of reflects
So
what
it's
happens
track.
around the sports.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
It did, yeah, it's because we never figured it. So,
Okay, well, let's get the interest number. Rich, yeah, anything you want to add about Miller Crossing? What is that? What?
One second.
Rich, come to me.
Oh, there you go. All right, now we can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Rich, what is that?
What happens a year from now, 2 years from now? In other words, just say the girls want to be
Yeah, so you're saying if we're talking budget-wise, if we're switching from girls to boys?
Can I
Yes,
just
and then
run
what
it?
happens if it goes back to, I mean, I guess that's what's gonna happen with any of the sports, right? As numbers fluctuate, we're gonna lose some teams and gain some teams.
And our enrollment's got, I mean, our enrollment's going down. So we keep,
But athletics is always
but this is my only concern on this, is we keep
eventually
putting,
it's gonna catch us.
we keep bouncing around and like, it's gonna, and then you're gonna be cutting people when they're sophomores and juniors, and that becomes a problem. It's easier, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna go that argument. But I think, you know, we were looking at classes of, you know, the senior class that just went out, 165-ish boys and girls in the grade, and now we're gonna be rolling through with 120.
Eventually,
per
it's gonna
boys and
be
girls per
outliers.
grade.
We just haven't seen it
There's just not gonna be enough
yet. Sustainability.
athletes to go around to fill all these sports.
Yep.
Well, then I think it should be a decision that's made across the board.
Yeah.
Not some sports get freshman teams and some sports don't,
Right.
right?
Well, I mean, I said this in our meeting on last week, was with the budget situation across all the districts around here, we're gonna see, like, our freshman teams aren't gonna have anybody to play.
Now,
We're already struggling.
Yeah.
so like, today I spent, I did fill up the freshman basketball schedule, and, you know, we're playing Hingham 4 times, we're playing St. Louis 4
It's so-
times.
But I mean, I get it, because
So
it's
what-
tough.
But so what do you do? So then you just cut from freshman year, you just make all those cuts immediately? Like
I
cut
mean, if you
freshman
go to smaller
basketball
schools,
was like 19 kids or
it's
something?
JV, I mean,
And they cut?
JV and
Boys
varsity.
17 and then cuts. Yeah.
JV and varsity. I mean, if you think about it, you know, like, there's been years there was like 20 boys in the freshman basketball team, and like then they get to be seniors, and you know, I mean, and we still do run a lot of them in and out. Fish does a
We
good
do.
job running them,
Yes,
but
yep.
in the end, it's 3 or 4 kids a grade.
We have to think about, I guess, the athletic department has to think about, like, what the goal is of the athletic department.
Exactly.
Right, so
That's-
like,
that's
is it just to create the best team ever, or is it, I mean, kids that could play for 3 years, and they want to, and they learn where they stand, and they get cut, and it's like, okay, I guess that's where it is, you know, but we have competitive varsity programs, but we are extremely competitive
We are.
in our varsity program, so if we lose so many kids,
We would.
that we know now we can switch over to the wellness committee and the belonging team, and that, like, the athletics is a huge source of where kids fit into the school, where they have a community, where they have, you know, so I'm in the camp of having teams if we have the interest, right? And I think we have to be careful about if we don't have the interest,
Yeah.
right, then those teams go in a different direction.
Right.
Right, so if the numbers are dwindling on some of the smaller teams that, you know, if they just don't have, they either have to co-op or we have to not
Right.
have that team,
Yep.
right? If we're spending tons of money on several,
So, you know, we saw that in swimming dive, we go up and handle it
Yeah.
because, you know, we need to. I would tell you our numbers have gone back up, which is great, but Hanover needs us. But it's a good mix.
That's fine, yeah.
You know, because our numbers aren't super overwhelming,
right?
you know. And the MIA has very certain, you know, numbers as far as when you can call up and stuff like that.
Right.
If if you're over a certain number, you can't go up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sort of a source of pride that we have so many teams that are non-cut.
I do.
We, like,
Yeah.
everybody who wants to play, a lot of the sports are playing, and I think that's nice.
Yeah.
And remain.
Right.
But we gotta pay for it.
And we remain competitive,
Yeah.
correct, right? So we gotta figure out how to pay for it, that's Tom's job, but I can be touchy-feely.
I
If
try.
you're in Marshfield High School and you wanna play a sport, there is a sport for
We
you.
got $100,000 deficit this year.
Okay, Tom, we're not coming. So, I'd like to see what the numbers are, right? So this should be like part of the standard procedure. If we have a request for a coach or a team or whatever, then the presentation should include what the numbers look like,
Right.
what the cost would be, has there been some work onto what the competition would be, what that would look like, you know, that kind of stuff. And then so that you can bring that to the committee on the 16th or whenever you want to.
Yep, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, so, you know, the uniform issue, all of that stuff, right? And then too, like, we didn't talk about this with the operating budget, but if there's opportunity for some of these teams to use a smaller bus, and I think we talked about too, looking into getting a bus.
Well, yeah, I mean, I brought that up, like, it's, you know, and I don't know how many times, like, freshman basketball travels by themselves. But if there's a freshman basketball team, 14 fit on that white van.
But they just went up to 17,
17.
right? So I
17.
think part of,
Boys are over, girls are not.
okay.
Only
so-
5 and a quarter, last time I
Right,
checked.
so maybe what we have to do is we haven't put the policy, we haven't done the handbook yet, the policy handbook.
Right.
Maybe we need to go back in and look at if, you know, I'm very excited for everyone to be part of a team, and that's great. That doesn't mean that you have to go to the competition if you're not playing, right? So maybe we have to talk about if you're, you know, the travel team part or the rotating schedule, or, you know, I don't know, my kid didn't dress for hockey sometimes, we just drove them, right? So like, I think that part, if we can use our bus and vans more often, right, that would be a huge.
We use them a lot in the fall,
Okay.
because our teams fit perfectly.
Golf has a-
Yeah, golf uses
I
it.
know.
Oh my God, so-
Um,
Right,
And we can use it.
but
Yeah, we
if there's
use
some
it
that are on the
as a
cusp, right, that's
Yeah.
like,
The
then,
girls could.
but-
But more importantly, like, and this is what I did at the middle school. If you have a bus and it's overloaded by 10 kids, 10, 12 kids,
with us.
put them on the white bus, save them trip. Like, I think, and I know we look at it
We
too.
do that
Yeah.
too, yeah, so we do
Okay.
that, we track a lot of times,
Okay,
because we're just a little bit over the bus capacities,
So
so.
track should only be 2 buses this year, in the winter, just because a lot of times it was 3.
okay.
Football, we were down to 2
Football, we were
buses
down
this
to
year,
0.
we used to be 3. So like, I think the enrollment will help with that aspect because we can shove on some. And I think we've also been doing a good job too, just kind of like letting coaches know, like, hey, we can consolidate, because like,
Right.
Coach Connor was like, JV and varsity boys hockey can both go to Falmouth on Saturday, okay, or whatever, Wednesday. Great, normally they would go separately. So I think, just consolidating, I think we're far away, yeah, because if they're over by 10 kids, there's no way.
Yeah,
I
Two
will say
freshman
that,
basketball games we had today were home games, so it's a bus.
I will
Good job.
say
So it's a
that,
pay official, but that's less than the buses, so.
okay. Oh, and is the wrestling tournament worked out now? That had been costing us money?
Holiday tournament?
Yeah, so are the fees adjusted so that?
The fees are adjusted,
$50,
so,
so it's 500 per
Yeah.
day
So are we,
to stay
are
online.
knock on wood, we should be good. The things with the
We'll
wrestling,
see.
the thing with the wrestling tournament, there's 36 games. It's I don't know how to put this, it's the collateral damage that the tournament inflicts on the building, I guess is the best way to put
It
it.
beats building up.
And our stabilized.
Yeah, and our supplies.
so why do we do it?
It's been a tradition, I think.
40 years.
Grown up
So
for
it's-
30 years.
But it's
40
costing.
years.
Yeah.
Okay,
I missed
it's
that.
costing us money.
I will say it's also been a lot more doing like security, we needed as convoy.
Right.
We needed.
Could we adjust the fee
police
so we
details.
don't lose money on it?
So we have,
We have, but we're one of 2 tournaments, so we're trying to stay competitive with the
Right.
other one, and they're $550, and they're at Lowell, UMass Lowell
UMass Lowell.
facility, so it's
Right.
like, I asked our coach, like, knowing, what people are probably willing to pay, I was like, what's realistic, like, how high can we go? And he said, like, okay, so we did. But yeah, I mean, official payment goes high. I mean, it cost us almost $8,000 in wrestling officials for
How much did it
2 days.
cost us actually?
What's that?
What was the bottom line of what it cost us? The wrestling tournament?
I don't know, I think we have that wrong.
Yeah.
We should do a little recap.
Yeah, that's a coaching salary.
Yes, yeah.
That's a.
But that doesn't incorporate the price that we can put numbers to, doesn't put in like AT supplies that are used and custodial supplies that are used. So there's really,
Broken toilets,
Damage, repairs to the bathrooms.
so,
locker rooms.
Really break toilets?
What's that?
They really break toilets?
And not only that, it's the volume.
I went, but it was.
Yeah. It's, yeah. I mean, it is a long.
Can you limit the teams then?
So we've looked at different things and looked at the example, you know, maybe cutting it down, number of days.
so it cost us last year $22,082 and we brought in $18,225, so we lost 30.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not the damage, not the
The
supplies.
collateral is how to get a number.
It's hard to
Yeah.
get, yeah.
So the reason that we do it is because of August on it.
Yeah, and it's the wrestling tournament.
It's a great showcase for our wrestlers, but not to mention our system. The 36 schools that come here, it's, so
And there's a long wait.
we uninvited a couple schools this year, based on a number of things. And you
Maybe
would,
another
you would
town
have
wants to
thought,
host it sometime.
you would have thought I stole a
So
child.
we're one of the only gyms that can get 5 times across.
That's
the
okay.
gym, and that's why.
That's-
This doesn't sound good.
Oh, it's terrible.
That's why,
Plymouth North has the same size gym.
They would love to host it.
Sorry, because we have the mats. I don't know.
Maybe we could lend them the mats or rent them out.
I do it a second.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't, it doesn't
So
seem
for
feasible to
the
keep doing it.
wrestling this is their biggest, their boosters fundraiser. They take all concessions, so they make money. We just do not athletics and that.
You said it was originally run by the wrestling boosters.
I think
It
it's
was.
one
Transition to us,
that
that's-
that we kind of.
Okay, well, I don't know. Something has to, it sounds like something has to change with that.
So I
Talk
just,
about it.
yeah, we need to talk about it the other day, and we'll
Evaluation.
continue to talk about it, because it's something that, it's so fluid, because it's such a big undertaking. This goes back in, Lauren and I, and Odie, and Lonnie, and Mike talked about this the other day. Marshfield High School is the happening place to be. It doesn't matter what time you go by that school, it is.
But maybe it's a conversation with the boosters or the team, like if they want to run it, I don't know what they're clearing off. I know
Yeah, that,
what the football thing, what the football concessions clears in the game. So I mean, I don't know, do we talk about, are they covering the custodial fees and like all that stuff? Maybe they should.
So
We talked about that with our homecoming fair.
we're looking
That-
for the schools pay that on the entry fees.
But not enough.
But that's with, probably not enough, but that's also with, we hired police details last year, we hired more faculty members to work in.
Right, but we can't keep, but we can't keep running it at a $4,000 deficit in
No.
addition to
Yep,
even what it's costing the school in general.
right.
So maybe there's a conversation with the boosters to say, there's, we need you to, if you want to continue running this year, we need, I don't know what the solution is, but I just know that I don't think we can, I don't think we can keep saying
It
that.
slowly became a 3-day tournament too. Like there was a JV day that was kind of half day just to get other kids reps, wasn't really organized in that. We paid officials.
It's very organized.
Yeah, I'd like to give that money back to our teams for the people that
Yeah.
that could use it, instead, I don't.
We agree. It definitely needs to look different.
It has to be
If it
different,
exists at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
Rich, you have anything to add? Rich? Okay, we're gonna end the meeting. Okay,
Thanks, Rich.
thanks, Rich. I didn't take one.
Do we have, another meeting on the books? The next
No, we
meeting?
do that.
Okay. Just wanted to check.
Oh, Rich, you still there?
He's gone. Nope, no, yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna do it honestly. You want to give us an extra week to come track and do that the fall.
We're gonna have to figure it out because we really won't all the games.
Games there. Do you, I mean, we've been,
I
I think we're, when the meeting's over, camera guy?